you don't know the magic of foundation stitches, you need to stop scrolling and watch this while I show you. I'm going to show you how to do a foundation double crochet stitch. Start off by chaining 3 and then yarn over, and in that back bump of the first chain that you made, you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first loop only, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over, pull through the final 2 loops, and that is 1 foundation double crochet stitch. Again, yarn over, insert your hook into the bottom of that stitch that we just made, making sure it goes through both the loops. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first loop only, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the final 2 loops. You can continue repeating this same thing, working your stitches into the bottom of the stitch that you made previously, and do it as many times until you have the correct amount of stitches that your pattern calls for. This technique combines your starting chain and your row 1 into just one step. This is a really common technique that you'll see in different crochet patterns, including the blanket pattern that I'm working on here.
So this blanket was crocheted using the idea of hexagons or rectangle gons. I don't really remember what they're called. As you can see, I'm not a math person for a reason. But essentially it starts off with a circle that gets increased in a couple of rounds, and then the actual points start to come out and creates this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So hexagonal shape, and then they were all stitched together. And I love how colorful this is. It's so cute because it's giving like baby core vibes to me. Absolutely love it. It's also not that big, so this didn't take nearly as long as if you were making like a real blanket. This is like your in-between project where you're like, okay, I want to get somewhere, but I'm not there yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need that in-between project to be like, okay, I'm going to push myself to finish this project, otherwise you'll never finish it. And then border.
3 commonly used stitches you should know. The single crochet starts with you going under the chain with your hook, and then you will pull through, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops on your hook. A half double crochet is just yarning over, going through that chain, pulling through so that you have 3 loops on your hook, and then yarning over and pulling through all 3 loops. A double crochet is just yarning over, pulling through that chain, and then you're going to yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through 2. So, if you're new to crocheting, here are
going faster than fast, hit the gas, lose control, I won't crash, running high, put your money on the dash, throw the dice, lose control, I won't crash, running home, I won't crash, when you slow, I won't crash, running, take.
I'm going to show you how to work an invisible mattress stitch to seamlessly connect your granny squares. First, we need to make sure our yarn is securely fastened. We do this by working our yarn beneath the back loop only of our corner stitch, moving from the front of the granny square to the back. We then repeat this in the next stitch along, however this time we're working from the back of the square to the front, still pulling the yarn through beneath that back loop only. We then repeat this exact same movement into the same 2 stitches. This is to hold the end of the yarn in place as you work the rest of your mattress stitch. What we've done here is essentially work a mattress stitch twice into the same space. Now taking our other granny square, we're going to work our yarn beneath the back loop only of this corner stitch, again moving from the front of the granny square to the back. Then we're going to repeat this in the next stitch along. Again, we're working from the back of the square to the front, still pulling the yarn through beneath that back loop only. What differentiates the mattress stitch from a ladder stitch is that when you work back into the first granny square, you'll be working into the stitch you previously came out of. Here you can see I'm working back into the last stitch that I worked out of on the blue granny square. Again, working the yarn beneath the back loop only and from the front of the square to the back, and then onto the next stitch, working from the back of the square to the front underneath the back loop only. You then repeat this pattern moving back and forth between your 2 granny squares. Once you've worked a couple of stitches, you can then pull the tail, and this is the most fun part of a mattress stitch. Your piece will zip closed, and because you're working into the back loops only, the seam will be invisible. Make sure you pull this taut every 6 stitches or so as it keeps everything neat.
To prevent curling in Tunisian crochet, I recommend using a larger than recommended hook. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using Impeccable by Loops and Threads, and the yarn label recommends a 5mm crochet hook. Let's see what happens if I did do that. I'm just going to make a small swatch of 10 stitches by 7 rows. Looks so good, right? Wrong. Now let's try a 6.5mm hook, which is 1.5mm larger than the size recommended on the label. This swatch is going to be 10 stitches wide by 7 rows long, just like the other one. And check that out, not nearly as curled as the first one, which is why
I'm making a million of these half squares for this project, so I'm going to show you how to do it. Start with a magic ring, then chain 4. Then we're going to act like this is a regular granny square and put 3 double crochet into the magic ring. Then chain 2 and put 3 more double crochet into the ring. Then chain 1 and put 1 double crochet into the magic ring, and that's the end of this round. You could chain and turn your work and keep going, but I'm going to fasten off because I'm switching colors. So to get back on, you could go into the chain 4 space, but I like to go into the 3rd chain just to separate it from the 3 double crochet cluster. So I went in with a standing double crochet and then chain 1 and put that 3 double crochet cluster into that chain 4 space. In the chain 2 space, put 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, just like a regular granny square corner. Then 3 double crochet into the chain 1 space. Then chain 1 and double crochet into the last double crochet of the first round. So this is how you would keep going on if you were to go without changing colors. You would just chain 4, turn your work, and then put 3 double crochet into that chain 1 space. Then you're just going to keep going, treating it like any other granny square. 3 double crochets in spaces, and 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in corner spaces. Then chain 1 and double crochet into the last stitch. So again, you're starting with a standing double crochet into either the chain 4 space, the chain 3, or the double crochet, depending on what side you're working on. Then chain 1 and continue around till you get to the end. Then chain 1 and put that last double crochet in there. You can keep going for as long as you want, but I'm stopping here. This is what that middle edge will look like, and that's how to create a diagonal half granny square.
Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Fendi, Fendi, Prada. The basic wear that shit so I don't even bother. I put that on my partner, I put that on my family. Oakland City represent, address me as your majesty. Yeah, you can kiss the ring, but you can never touch the crown. I smoke a million Swisher blunts and I ain't never coming down. You ain't.
We're going to vertically cut a double crochet pattern, not horizontally, because all the tutorials out there are horizontal, but we are going to do it vertically, and this is how I figured out. Our first key to happiness is a lifeline. And what is a lifeline? A lifeline is where you take a tapestry needle and you're going to basically sew in between stitches so that as you unravel, and generally it would be horizontally, so that as you unravel your piece, when it gets to that line, your unraveling stops and all of those stitches are saved and it's happiness, okay? But we're going vertically, and I have a tapestry needle here. So where in the world are we possibly going to instill this glorious lifeline? The key is between loopies. So when I was taking my think, I stretched it out real tight. And if you look, I have a crochet hook here. Not a crochet hook, a knitting needle. Okay, geez. Between here, there's these little loopies, okay? And boop. All right, so you see between all of these stitches, there is a chain, okay? And if I twist the stitch here with the chain, you will see that there are 2 pieces to each one. They link the sides together. And I'm going to take my tapestry needle and run through these little links, okay? So let me do one side and then we'll pause and do the other side. I'm going to start down here in between. Okay, in between my stitches, see, right here, boop, there's one. And on this, slow and steady wins the race, because if you mess up, you're screwed. All right, so slow and steady, and if you need to pull things apart, pull them apart, it's okay. You can do it. Just little bitty baby bits at a time. Okay, in between. In between, okay? So I'm gonna run this through right now and we will continue. Okay, so right here and boop, okay? Little bit of baby bits. Okay, remember you are the artist, and if you want to do something differently, go on ahead, honey. Okay, there's that one. Little baby bits. Oh, actually, I guess I should have just gone there. Hold on a second. Reroute. Let's pull this apart, okay? In between there, wait, I gotta make sure I'm going in between perfectly. Boop. Okay, and then our very last stitch, see how, again, there's this like V shape here, and we're gonna go through that. And boop. Okay, so there is our lifeline. Now, in theory, if I cut, then this stuff will not unravel. But here is the problem. In crochet, we're crocheting this way, right? Horizontally. So our lifeline should be horizontal for your stitches to stop if we are unraveling everything. We are not unraveling, okay? We're not pulling here and unraveling because that's not what we're working on. We are actually cutting vertically. So we need a second lifeline, okay? I'm gonna cut this bad boy, boop. And I'm going to create a second lifeline, but it's going to be over here because all of this stuff needs to be unraveled enough so that we can weave in our ends on the side, okay? So I'm going to have enough adequate room to make all of our stitches have enough room so that we can weave in ends. So I'm gonna make one here. I do want to say though, so look at this stitch right here. Notice how I'm putting my lifeline on this group of stitches and not that group of stitches. That is wrong because if I am cutting in the middle here, this portion is actually what's being saved, okay? But I want to save this portion so that I can then sew this bit and move it onto this bit or something. You know, I want to weave in ends from here onto this piece. So I'm gonna need my lifeline not in this locked group, but in this one so that this portion is saved. This bit we can weave in things if needed, okay? So on this side here, if I pull it apart, you'll see I put them on this portion because that's the portion that I'm going to be needing saved, not this part, okay? So let me redo that for us. I have our lifelines placed. So now I'm going to cut my fabric vertically, all right? I'm just gonna go in the middle here, snippy snippers all the way, okay? Just little bits going, da-dum-dum. Perfect, all right. So now the key is we are going to now have this area closed. So right now I consider this open, right? We have issues here. I'm going to close it. This side, open, I'm going to close it. So then we'll have two separate pieces of fabric and we can sew them in all sorts of other ways, use them for other purposes, whatever the case may be. So with this being all unraveled and annoying, what we then can do is just start picking it apart, okay? I know, it's kind of annoying, but what we really want is just like a clean, open area for us. So pick, pick, pick. Slow and steady wins the race, remember? We're not in a rush with this. It will be frustrating, but we are here to become better, amazing people, all right? So, see how this is just one big strand already? All right, we're going to be using those things to weave in the ends. Watch, when I am pulling on here and see, I pull, it doesn't go any further than this guy, all right? That is the whole goal. And when you're crocheting, it's basically just making hundreds of little knots. So if you don't like undoing knots, I'm so sorry. Okay, undo them little bits at a time. Doobie-doobie-doop-doo. Sometimes you'll find little pieces here that you can just start pulling. Okay. And as you pull, boop, 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 see? And now we're to one little loop here, one little loop here. We want to just have single loops going down. Okay, pull, oh, I don't want to make a knot. If you are a knitter, you can basically imagine these are almost like the loops of dropped stitches. And if it makes you more comfortable, you can put a stitch marker in, or even like a cable or something, and just hold the stitches there. But remember, we do have our lifeline. I am still being gentle though, because what if I missed a spot on my lifeline or something? You know, I would rather be more careful than not, just to ensure that I am successful and not have to do this over again. We only have about 1 minute left of this video, so I wanted to show you guys. Here is it all cleaned up, and I know it looks like a hot mess right now, but basically what you're going to be doing is you are going to be taking these ends, weaving them into the loops all the way down, and if there is a portion like this that has kind of a larger gap, you can tie these ones together. But once that is done, you can take out your lifeline. I'm actually going to take it out. And it will actually be cut and usable, and you can continue with your crochet. So I hope that helps, and everybody have a beautiful day.